Commander Natalia Rivera stood at the observation deck of the UES Horizon, her dark eyes fixed on the mysterious vessel that had appeared at the edge of Earth's defense perimeter. The ship's design was unlike anything humanity had encountered before. Sleek, almost organic in its curves, with a surface that seemed to ripple like liquid metal under the starlight. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the bridge. Lieutenant Omar Patel's fingers danced across his console. "Unknown vessel maintains its position, Commander. No aggressive movements, but their energy readings are off the charts. They could power a small city with what they're putting out." The first contact protocol had been drilled into every member of the United Earth Space Force, but theory and practice were vastly different beasts. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, yet now that it had arrived, Rivera felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. "Open a channel. All frequencies," she ordered. "Let's see if they're here to talk." The response came not in words, but in a burst of light that temporarily blinded their sensors. When the systems recovered, the alien vessel had vanished, only to reappear less than a kilometer from their position. The bridge crew collectively held their breath. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Commander Yuki Tanaka called from her tactical station. "They're scanning us. Deep penetrating scans. They're looking at everything, from our hull composition to our power distribution." Rivera straightened her uniform. "Let them look. We have nothing to hide." The alien ship's scan continued for several more minutes before a communication request finally came through. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a being that defied human expectations. The Zetheran ambassador, as they would later learn, possessed a form that seemed to shift between solid and energy, with patterns of light coursing through what might have been skin. "Greetings, vessels of Earth," the being spoke, its words translated through an array of frequencies that their computers quickly decoded. "I am emissary Vexthor of the Zetheran Empire. Your world has drawn our interest." Rivera stepped forward. "I am Commander Natalia Rivera of the United Earth Space Force. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations." The emissary's form rippled, what might have been amusement or contempt impossible to read in their alien features. "Peace is a relative term, Commander. We have observed your species for some time. Your potential is notable. The Empire believes you could serve a greater purpose under our guidance." The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. Rivera's jaw tightened, but she maintained her diplomatic composure. "We appreciate your interest, emissary, but humanity charts its own course. We're open to cooperation and cultural exchange, but we maintain our independence." Independence, Vexthor's form, pulsed with increasing intensity. A charming concept. Yet the galaxy is vast and dangerous. Lesser species require protection. Structure. The Empire provides both. "We protect ourselves," Rivera replied firmly. "And we've learned to work with others as equals, not subjects." The emissary's form contracted slightly. "Your confidence is misplaced. We have watched your conflicts, your divisions. The Empire brings order to chaos. You will understand this in time." Before Rivera could respond, multiple alerts blared across the bridge. Lieutenant Tanaka's voice cut through the chaos. "Commander, multiple signatures appearing throughout the solar system. They're positioning themselves around our major colonies and settlement zones." Rivera's eyes narrowed as she faced the emissary. "Are these the actions of a peaceful empire, Vexthor? These are the actions of those who understand their responsibility to guide lesser species toward enlightenment," the emissary responded. "You have one planetary rotation to consider our generous offer of protection. After that, we will demonstrate why resistance to the Empire's embrace is unfortunate." The communication cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Rivera turned to her crew, her expression resolute. "Send word to Earth Command. Tell them everything. And get me Admiral Chen on a secure channel. The Zetheran Empire just made a serious mistake in underestimating humanity's resolve." As the crew rushed to execute her orders, Rivera returned her gaze to the alien vessel. The Zetherans thought they had found another species to subjugate, another world to add to their collection. Instead, they had awakened a force they couldn't comprehend. Humanity's unbreakable spirit and determination to remain free. Dr. Marcus Blackwood's laboratory deep within Luna Base hummed with activity as holographic displays flickered with streams of data collected from the Zetheran ships. His weathered face reflected the blue glow of the screens as he analyzed patterns that others might have missed. 20 years of synorcheology had taught him to see beyond the obvious, and something about the Zetherans' arrival felt hauntingly familiar. "Run the comparison again," he instructed his AI assistant. "Cross-reference with the artifacts we found in the Meridian ruins." The results appeared instantly, confirming his worst fears. "Commander Rivera," he called through the secure channel, "I need you to see this immediately." Within the hour, Rivera stood in his lab, her uniform still bearing the subtle signs of her recent confrontation with the Zetheran emissary. "What have you found, Doctor?" Blackwood gestured to the holographic display. "The Zetherans aren't what they claim to be. These energy signatures, their technology, we've seen them before, in ruins across 3 different star systems." He pulled up images of ancient structures, their surfaces etched with warnings in dozens of long-dead languages. "They're the destroyers, Commander. The ones the Meridian civilization warned about in their final records. They don't seek to protect or guide. They consume. Every civilization they embrace is stripped of resources, knowledge, and eventually their very identity." Rivera studied the data, her expression hardening. "How long have they been doing this?" "Millennia, at least. They're patient. They present themselves as benefactors, mentors. But it's all preparation." Blackwood brought up more images, showing the systematic destruction of ancient worlds. "They integrate themselves into a society, learn its weaknesses, and then—" He didn't need to finish the sentence. "The ultimatum they gave us," Rivera realized, "it's not about protection. It's about assessment." "Exactly. They're evaluating our response. Every civilization they've encountered has either submitted immediately or tried to fight them conventionally. Both responses led to the same end." Blackwood's voice carried the weight of his discovery. "But they've never encountered humanity before." Lieutenant Commander Tanaka burst into the lab, her usual composure shaken. "Commander, you need to see this. We've detected unusual energy signatures from the Zetheran fleet. They're not just scanning our defenses, they're mapping something else." Blackwood quickly analyzed the new data, his eyes widening. "They're mapping our quantum communication network, the very thing that unified our colonies and gave us faster-than-light communication. They're not just preparing for invasion, they're preparing to isolate us." Rivera's mind raced with the implications. "Can we prevent it?" "Better," Blackwood said, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "We can use it against them. Their scanning technology relies on predictable quantum states. But our network—" He pulled up the schematics of Earth's quantum communication system. "We've already developed random state protocols to prevent interference. If we modify these protocols, we could feed them false information." Tanaka finished, catching on quickly. "Make them see weaknesses that don't exist, strengths where they expect vulnerability." Rivera nodded slowly, a plan forming in her mind. "Doctor, how quickly can you modify our network?" "With a full team and emergency authorization. 12 hours. But Commander," Blackwood cautioned, "this is just the beginning. The Zetherans have conquered countless civilizations. They'll have contingencies. Then we'll need contingencies of our own." Rivera activated her comm link. "This is Commander Rivera. Priority Alpha communication to all Earth Defense Commands. Authentication code Sierra 9 Delta. We have a Class 1 civilization threat." As alerts began spreading throughout human space, Rivera turned back to Blackwood. "Doctor, I need everything you have on their previous conquests, every pattern, every strategy they've used. Humanity won't be another civilization lost to history. We're going to show the Zetherans why underestimating us was their greatest mistake. Blackwood nodded grimly and began transferring data to secure channels. Around them, Luna Base erupted into controlled chaos as humanity prepared for what might be its greatest challenge. The Zetherans thought they were dealing with a young, naive species. Instead, they had awakened a civilization that had survived its own. The next 12 hours would determine whether humanity would become another footnote in the Zetherans' long history of conquest, or if they would be the species that finally showed the ancient empire the true meaning of resistance. As Rivera left the lab to prepare Earth's defenses, she knew one thing with certainty. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would show the Zetherans that sometimes the most dangerous prey is the one you think you've already trapped. Ambassador Jian Li stood before the Galactic Council, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of countless holographic displays. The chamber, carved from an ancient asteroid at the crossroads of 7 major space lanes, held representatives from dozens of spacefaring civilizations. Many watched with barely concealed skepticism as the human diplomat prepared to speak. Honorable representatives, Li began, his voice steady despite the stakes. 12 hours ago, the Zetheran Empire issued an ultimatum to Earth. They offered us protection in exchange for our submission. What I bring you today is evidence that their offer is nothing but a prelude to extinction. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as Li activated a holographic projection. Dr. Blackwood's findings filled the space above their heads, ruins, records, and the undeniable pattern of the Zetherans' true nature. We are not the first to face this choice, Li continued, but we refuse to be the last. The Zetherans have played this game for millennia, posing as benefactors while preparing for systematic annihilation. They aren't here to protect, they're here to consume. A tall crystalline being rose from the council seats, Ambassador Crix of the Solaran Collective, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that conveyed both interest and concern. These are grave accusations, Ambassador Li. The Zetheran Empire has maintained diplomatic relations with many worlds for centuries. Yes, Li responded, and how many of those worlds still maintain their original culture, their independence, their true identity? He brought up more data, showing the subtle but unmistakable signs of Zetheran influence across supposedly independent worlds. They don't just conquer, they transform, slowly replacing everything that makes a civilization unique with their own twisted version of order. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives began recognizing patterns in their own societies. Li pressed on, but humanity has something the Zetherans didn't account for. We know their game, and we have a plan to stop them. What we need is your help. From the shadows of the chamber emerged Commander Rivera, her presence immediately drawing attention. She stepped forward, her voice clear and determined. The Zetherans believe they face a young, isolated species. Instead, they face all of us, together. Rivera activated another hologram, this one showing tactical displays and defense strategies. We've analyzed their methods, their weaknesses. Their power comes from isolation, dividing civilizations, turning them against each other. But humanity has learned the power of unity. We've developed technologies and strategies that could break their hold, not just over Earth, but over every world they've subjugated. Ambassador Crix's crystalline form pulsed with interest. The Solaran Collective has noticed irregularities in our recent agreements with the Zetherans. What exactly are you proposing? A coalition, Li answered, not just of military forces, but of knowledge and technology. Humanity's quantum communication network, combined with Solaran crystal tech and the unique capabilities of other species, could create something the Zetherans can't control or corrupt. A new voice joined the discussion. Ambassador Trell of the Nexus Worlds, their bioluminescent patterns reflecting deep thought. The Zetherans have agents everywhere. How can we be certain this chamber itself isn't compromised? Rivera smiled slightly. We already are certain it's compromised. That's part of the plan. She nodded to a corner of the chamber where a subtle shimmer revealed a cloaked Zetheran observer. They're watching, listening, believing they have the advantage. But every word we speak is being transmitted through quantum channels they can't access, carrying the real message to those ready to act. The revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. Lee stepped forward again. The choice before you isn't whether to fight the Zetherans. That battle has been raging in secret for generations. The choice is whether to fight them divided and weak, or united and strong. One by one, representatives began to stand. First Ambassador Crix, their crystalline form blazing with renewed purpose. Then Trell, their bioluminescence painting patterns of agreement across their skin. Others followed, each bringing unique strengths and resources to the coalition. As the chamber filled with the energy of newfound alliance, Rivera turned to Lee. Think they got the message? Lee's eyes remained fixed on the spot where the Zetheran observer had been. They got exactly the message we wanted them to get. They think they're watching us scramble to form a desperate alliance. Instead, Rivera finished. They're watching us spring the trap we've spent the last 12 hours preparing. The real question is, how long until they realize that everything they think they know about Earth and humanity is exactly what we wanted them to believe? The pieces were in place, as representatives from across the galaxy pledged their support. Humanity's true plan was already in motion. The Zetherans had spent millennia perfecting the art of conquest, but they were about to learn that humanity had spent its entire history perfecting something far more powerful, the art of defying impossible odds. Captain Derek Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching as the combined fleet assembled in the shadow of Jupiter's largest moon. The massive gas giant's magnetic field helped mask their presence from Zetheran long-range sensors, buying precious time for final preparations. Status report, he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of countless simulations and preparations. All ships reporting ready. Captain, Lieutenant Rosa Mendez responded from her tactical station. Solar and crystal matrices are integrated with our quantum networks. Nexus bioships are in position. The Arcturus defense grid is fully synchronized. Harrison nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display showing hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all unified under a single purpose. The plan they'd developed was audacious, perhaps even reckless, but it played to the strengths of every species in their coalition. Message from Commander Rivera. Sir, Mendez announced. Operation Starbreak is greenlit. We move in 10 minutes. The bridge crew tensed with anticipation. Everyone knew their role in what was about to unfold. The Zetherans had spent the last day believing they were watching a desperate alliance form, counting ships and calculating odds based on conventional warfare. They had no idea they were watching an elaborate performance. Begin quantum signature broadcast, Harrison ordered. Let's give them something to chase. Across the solar system, quantum beacons activated, creating a complex web of false signals that mirrored their fleet's actual positions. The Zetherans' advanced scanning technology would detect what appeared to be a massive but disorganized assault force preparing to attack. They're responding, Mendez reported. Zetheran fleet is moving to intercept what they believe is our main force near Mars. Harrison allowed himself a small smile. Initiate Phase 2. Signal the Solaran ships. The crystalline vessels of the Solaran Collective moved into formation, their hulls refracting light in ways that defied conventional physics. As they activated their newly integrated quantum matrices, the false signals began to take on physical form, solid holograms indistinguishable from real ships. Nexus bioships, you're up, Harrison commanded. The organic vessels of the Nexus worlds pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as they released clouds of microscopic organisms into space, organisms that would interact with Zetheran sensors in very specific ways. The trap was set. The Zetheran fleet, responding to what they believed was a clumsy attack, moved to engage the holographic forces. Their sensors, confused by the Nexus organisms, failed to detect the real fleet moving into position behind them. Sir, Mendez called out. Commander Rivera reports the Zetheran command ship is in position. They're completely focused on the decoy fleet. Harrison straightened in his chair. Send the signal. All ships, execute final approach. Let's show them what humanity and its allies are truly capable of. The real fleet emerged from hiding, their weapons already charged. The Zetheran ships, caught between the holographic decoys and the actual assault force, found themselves in a position they hadn't faced in millennia. Genuine tactical surprise. Multiple Zetheran vessels attempting to engage quantum communication, Mendez reported. Their signals are being intercepted and scrambled by our modified network. Now they understand, Harrison said grimly. All ships, commence attack pattern Delta. Target their command and control systems first. The battle erupted in a display of coordinated might that would be remembered for generations. Solar and crystal ships projected energy fields that trapped Zetheran vessels in temporal distortions. Nexus bioships released precisely engineered organisms that attached to enemy hulls, disrupting their advanced systems. Human vessels, their weapons enhanced by combined alien technologies, struck at key vulnerabilities with surgical precision. The Zetheran command ship, realizing too late the true nature of their situation, attempted to rally their forces. But their usual tactics of divide and conquer found no purchase against an enemy that had turned their own methods against them. Sir, Mendez called out, excitement breaking through her professional demeanor. The Zetheran command ship's defenses are failing. Commander Rivera's strike team is moving to board. Harrison watched as Rivera's specialized unit, composed of humans and aliens working in perfect synchronization, breached the Zetheran vessel. The plan had worked better than they'd dared hope. The Zetherans, so accustomed to being the manipulators, had never considered they might be the ones being manipulated. Captain, Mendez's voice cut through his thoughts. We're detecting massive energy fluctuations from the remaining Zetheran ships. They're attempting some kind of emergency protocol. Harrison's expression hardened. Warn all ships. The Zetherans don't surrender easily. Whatever they're planning, it's not over yet. As if in response to his words, the space around the Zetheran fleet began to distort, reality itself seeming to bend as they prepared to unleash whatever desperate measure they had held in reserve. The true test of humanity's alliance was about to begin, and the outcome would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of countless civilizations across the galaxy. Admiral Helena Stone watched from the bridge of the UES Prometheus as reality itself seemed to tear apart around the remaining Zetheran ships. The emergency protocol they had initiated was unlike anything their intelligence had predicted, a desperate gambit that threatened to unravel the very fabric of space-time. All ships, maintain formation, she commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before them. Dr. Blackwood, what are we looking at? The scientist's hologram flickered beside her, his expression grave. They're attempting to access what appears to be an ancient network, quantum tunnels that predate their empire. The energy readings are off the charts. Admiral. Lieutenant Commander Reza Sharifai called from his station. Solar and sensors are detecting temporal distortions. They're trying to rewrite the battle's outcome. Stone's eyes narrowed. The Zetherans' true power was finally revealed. Not just conquerors, but manipulators of time itself. This was how they had maintained their dominion for so long, erasing defeats and ensuring their victories through temporal manipulation. Commander Rivera, status of the boarding operation. Stone demanded. Rivera's voice came through clear despite the interference. We've reached their central core, Admiral. The solar and crystal tech is keeping their temporal effects at bay, but not for long. We need a solution fast. Dr. Blackwood's hologram flickered as he accessed data from multiple species sensors. The Zetherans aren't just accessing a network, they're drawing power from every world they've ever subjugated. That's why their empire has lasted so long. They've built a temporal foundation on the suffering of countless civilizations. Stone turned to Ambassador Lee, who stood silently observing the tactical displays. Options. We use their own network against them. Lee replied without hesitation. Every civilization they've conquered, every world they drained. They're all connected through this temporal web. If we can send a signal through their own network, we can wake them all up at once. Blackwood finished, excitement breaking through his concern. The quantum communication modifications we developed, they're not just for coordination. They could carry a temporal signature through their entire network. Stone didn't hesitate. Make it happen. All ships, move to support positions. Concentrate fire on any Zetheran vessel that tries to interfere. Commander Rivera, prepare to upload the quantum signal directly into their core. The space around them continued to distort as the Zetherans pushed their temporal manipulation to its limits. Ships from both sides appeared to move in slow motion, caught in pockets of altered time. But humanity and their allies held firm, their modified quantum network protecting them from the worst effects. Signal ready, Blackwood announced. But Admiral, this will affect every civilization in their empire. The temporal backlash could be catastrophic. For them or for us? Stone asked sharply. For the Zetherans, Lee interjected. Their entire empire is built on temporal manipulation. Break that foundation, and they lose everything. Stone finished. Do it. Rivera's team, inside the Zetheran command ship, reached the core chamber. The alien technology pulsed with otherworldly energy, generations of stolen time and power flowing through its circuits. Ready to upload, Rivera reported. But Admiral, we're detecting some kind of failsafe. If we do this, there's no guarantee we can get out in time. Stone's voice was firm. The needs of the many, Commander. You know what's at stake. Understood, Rivera replied. It's been an honor. Initiating upload now. The quantum signal, carrying the combined knowledge and defiance of humanity and their allies, shot through the Zetheran temporal network. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Across their empire, subjugated worlds began to wake from their temporal imprisonment. Centuries of carefully manipulated time began to unravel. The Zetheran ships, their power source suddenly disrupted, began to lose cohesion. Their temporal manipulations collapsed in on themselves, creating a cascade of reality corrections that rippled across space. Get our people out of there, Stone ordered. Emergency quantum extraction, now. The rescue was chaotic but successful. As Rivera's team materialized on Allied ships, the Zetheran command vessel imploded, taking with it the last vestiges of their temporal control. Across the galaxy, their carefully constructed empire began to crumble as civilizations broke free from their influence. Hours later, Stone stood in the council chamber, surrounded by representatives from both the Alliance and newly freed worlds. The victory had come at a cost. Dozens of ships lost, countless brave souls sacrificed. But the price of failure would have been infinitely higher. Today marks a new beginning, she addressed the assembly. The Zetheran Empire's temporal grip is broken, but our work is just beginning. There are worlds to rebuild, civilizations to heal, and a galaxy to unite, not through force or manipulation, but through genuine cooperation and mutual respect. Ambassador Lee stepped forward. The alliance we forged in crisis need not end with victory. Humanity's quantum network, solar and crystal technology, Nexus biological engineering. Together we've proven that our differences make us stronger. As the chamber erupted in discussion about the future, Stone gazed out at the stars. The Zetherans had spent millennia believing that true power came from control and manipulation. In less than a day, humanity and its allies had proven that real strength came from something far simpler, the willingness to stand together, to risk everything not just for survival, but for the freedom of all. The galaxy would remember this day not just as the end of the Zetheran Empire, but as the beginning of something far greater, a future where cooperation triumphed over conquest, where diversity was celebrated rather than suppressed, and where the combined strength of many proved greater than the dominion of one. The dawn of a new era had arrived, and humanity had helped light the way.